Hello to everyone. My name is Jay Hall, as usual. You know I'm someone, co-host of the Hip Hop Matrix Show, writer for Walks and Choose Bubblegum, walksandchoosebubblegum.com. But I am here for a special occasion. Actually, I'm here with one of my closest friends, Ag. She reached out to me, and it was an honor, personally, for me to do this, to have a conversation about some of the things that you've been doing with your nonprofit organization, starting with today, right?
Right. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, it's kind of hard to introduce somebody that you already know, but, Charyln Anderson. Hello?
I don't think I've ever heard you say my
your full name, right? Yeah. It's kind of like, because I started like, hey, Char. It's like, people don't know, Char. It's like, hey, Char. But Charlyn Anderson, creator, founder, starting with today, nonprofit organization, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you guys been established since when?
2014. We were actually founded in 2012, and that was shortly after the death of Trayvon Martin. And we kind of used that as a platform to get started, and then we launched a year and a half later in January of 2014.
So Trayvon Martin happens.
Right.
And you want to start a nonprofit organization, or you've already had that in the works?
I already had it in my mind, but it was idle. It was idle. The death of Trayvon Martin led me to my first protest. And from there, it's like, I got to do something.
Now, where were you exactly?
I was in D.C.
Okay.
I was in D.C. I went to the first protest at Howard University.
That you are alumni of. Just had to mention, right?
You throw that in there.
Yeah, this is what it is. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But it was definitely a call to action for me, and I think in a lot of people. In my contribution that I wanted to make was, helping people elevate their lives.
Now, here's something that I don't really think that gets explained too much. Is what exactly is a nonprofit organization, because we like to relate it to like charity,
right?
When I think of nonprofit organization, or people that I know, we think of like someone's passing something out to me outside of a grocery store, and there's a cause I need to get involved, and if I donate money, I'm also donating money to a nonprofit organization.
Correct.
But technically, a nonprofit organization can be kind of anything. Like the NFL was a nonprofit organization up until like a few years ago, right?
Exactly. So a nonprofit is just a tax code mark indicator. It's not. It's a regular business. We're incorporated. We have a corporation and bylaws. It just makes us eligible for tax exempt. We are a charitable nonprofit, meaning that we do services for the community.
Okay, so when you go that route and you want to be nonprofit, is that also kind of would you say is also to let people know that we're not like making cash off this per se, or everything
you can still be profitable, quote unquote, for a nonprofit. It is just meaning that your mission is service based, and there's some rules around the money that you make.
Okay, rules as in the money's definitely gonna go to the cause.
Correct. Most of the money needs to be going towards the cause.
Okay. So how exactly does someone, Howard alum, I understand the anger or the call to action you felt during the unfortunate demise of Trayvon Martin, especially the way it went down.
Because
you and I talked about it's for some reason, even though unfortunately there's been a lot of casualties similar to Trayvon later on, but it all kind of, for our generation, it kind of come back to Trayvon. Like, he's our Emmett Till.
Exactly. It activated.
As far as a lot of things that happen. How do you take that from it just being a moment of feeling like I want to do something for like a couple weeks, outrage that's limited, right? To actually going into this is what I want to do? Or, not to hit you too heavy, is this something that kind of already been in the works in your brain, and Trayvon kind of made you kind of get up off your butt?
Exactly. That's what it was. And it had already been in my brain. My whole life has been service-based for my parents growing up, my family growing up. We always did stuff in the community with our church, with homeless giveaways, with helping family and friends in need. So I always saw service in my home. And I think this was just beginning a manifestation of that. And Trayvon Martin was just the catalyst to get it started for me.
What would you say your earliest memory? You say you family did a lot. By the way, I met your parents. They're like the coolest parents.
So they still talk about y'all to that
really?
day, like in that barbecue.
It
was just so cool.
Like your parents are like the coolest folks ever. They were just mine. They were just kicking it. Nothing had to be PC. Right. Everybody was like, man, we done that. Like, let me tell you about the 70s. Like, so they were mad cool. But what would you remember for yourself was like the first memory of an act of service that you said you was with your parents when you did it, right?
Right. You know, when you're a kid and you're doing these projects, it took a little while for me to, you know, really appreciate all that they did. So much. But I think one of the earliest memories was making soup for the senior citizens in our community. And we called it the Super Bowl. And there was a lady...
soup as in Super Bowl.
Exactly,
okay, got it.
Exactly.
Was it during the Super Bowl?
It was during the Super Bowl.
Who was playing?
I don't know.
It wasn't Dallas.
It probably was Dallas, actually.
It was
probably.
That's a long time ago. Dallas was in the Super Bowl. That's a long time ago.
I hear that hate in your heart.
But I'm just acknowledging facts.
You know, so there was a lady who used her home to literally cook these big old pots of soup. And we would bag it up and take it to people. And one of the ladies said that when we delivered it, this was the only meal she was gonna have for the week. So it just kind of put everything in perspective, where things that you take for granted from very early on it's something that I did, it's something I enjoyed. I felt like it was just what I was supposed to do.
Was it something that your parents had did even when they were younger?
That I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Definitely. You know, actually, my grandmother, she owned a beauty shop, and she actually owned two. In
your grandmother owned a beauty shop. She owned two.
My grandmother owned two beauty shops, and the first one had a grocery store, and so she would use help clients get groceries. My mom would help with stuff
while owning a beauty shop.
Right, owning the beauty shop.
That's such a black thing.
That is very black.
Like all of our businesses happen to be fronts for other things.
Exactly.
Whether it's legal or illegal. It's like, it's a beauty shop, but we're going to get you groceries.
Exactly.
We're going to be therapists. We're going to be all of these things.
That's true. And my grandmother was an amazing woman, and her legacy, you know, still stands in Dallas. And, you know, one of the first black women owned businesses in Dallas.
Okay.
That she owned. And, you know, people were in there getting their hair done. But a lot of people were there to ask for advice. A lot of people were in there to vent, to, you know, pray, ask for prayer. So it was just around me.
That's like one of those things that you see on TV. We kind of all grew up, but we kind of take it for granted.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, my grandmother didn't own a shop. She ran the numbers. But still, that was like...
Same thing.
Same thing. You know, it was a black thing like to do, but your grandmother put it in there. And
right.
Those memories stuck with you. Now, it's funny that you bring up that your grandmother was in, you know, had a beauty salon. Right. And we'll get to that. So... you grow up in that, and you seeing all these active service. Are you recognized at their service, or just
Absolutely
something at
not.
the time, or you just this something you're doing?
This something that I thought was normal. I thought that's what everyone did, was take care of people. We had my parents would have, you know, their nieces, my cousins in the house, you know, taking care of their siblings when they needed. It was always people in our house that we were taking care of, or, you know, for a stint where people, you know, were away or sick. Then, you know, our house was a safe haven. Okay.
And so, are you doing this throughout, like, your teenage years and you get older?
Absolutely. And then I think I had just more initiative and more clarity with it. So I helped out with, we did homeless giveaways to people, and Christmas time, back to school giveaways. I was always volunteering with different projects. Even just around the church, you know, I would help clean up, wash dishes after stuff. And, you know, sometimes people be like, I don't want to do that. It's like, I didn't care. Like, it needed to get done.
Did it start to become second nature?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you graduate from high school and you make that great journey to Howard University.
The best journey
to Howard University. Is your thought process as a young 18-year-old woman is to like, where can I do service, or does it become second nature then, where things kind of fall into your lap and you act on it?
No, I felt like I needed to be, these expectations. It wasn't until later on that I decided. So initially, I went to Howard to do biology and chemistry. I thought I was going to be a doctor.
What? Wait a minute! How come I never do this? Wait! You went to be a scientist, damn near? Like,
yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to be a scientist when I was a kid, but that's because I read comic books and I thought that I was going to get superpowers in the lab by accident.
Right.
But you seem like you was a little bit more focused than I. So you actually went to cure cancer. That was your job.
Yeah, that's what I thought I wanted to do. And math and science came very easily to me, so that is what I thought was a natural progression.
I never knew you was that good at math. Oh, it makes sense now, because every time we go out, you always the person we hand the bill to.
Stop it.
I can't remember taxes, but it's totally fine. Go ahead.
It was at Howard that I saw, black. Was introduced to black psychology. So psychology, of course, ended up becoming my major, but black psychology and the way we interact with the world and the world interacts with us is different, and it has to be addressed differently. And so I knew I was going to be in service to people. And
so you were doing that throughout college.
Correct.
And you giving little small examples like,
but when I told my mom I wanted to switch my major, she didn't flip. I mean, financially, she was like, "Why?"
Jesus, we barely got you there.
Real.
Every black parent is like, "What are you doing? We discussed this. Can't you just lose your virginity like other women?"
But she was like, that is who we are. That's who you are. People have been calling you since you was
that family history coming.
7th grade. People calling you asking for advice, and people used to call like 10 o'clock, and she was like, "Why do you want to talk to Charlyn?" And they'd be like, "Oh, I want to tell her about something and get her advice." It's like, Charlyn sleep.
Right. But also too, when you go to college, definitely like a black college, you come in doing some form of active service. There are people who help me pass final exams that I still don't know their names.
Absolutely.
But when we see each other during homecoming, I embrace them because I wouldn't have passed the class without them.
You right.
Because I randomly ended up in their room. They had the answers for us to study because they took the test the day before. Exactly. You know how that go, right? Man. So if you take someone like yourself who was already doing that, it kind of it strengthens what your character already was.
Absolutely. I think Howard has many gifts that keeps giving, but one of them is the honing of service to humanity, and why we need to embrace people as they are and see black people as our equal, no matter where they're coming from, no matter the social economic background, no matter the mental health history. It doesn't matter. We have a responsibility to humanity.
Wow. And then you come out of college. Do you say to yourself, "All right, I'm hitting the ground running. I'm about to join something. Do I go to work?" Or do you come out trying to figure out how you're going to pay your debt?
Exactly. Immediately, how I'm paying for this apartment. So I get this corporate job, and
What was your corporate job? When you ain't got nothing coming, what they had you doing?
I was working in rental cars.
Yo, so they almost hired me, and they waited till I got there to tell me that my credit was bad.
They do a credit check,
so they told me, and that was the first time a job told me that. They told me my credit's bad, and so the lady says to me, I was on my way to do paperwork.
Right.
And so she's like, we would love to hire you, but you have these, this school debt. I said, yeah, that's how I got my degree.
Right.
And she said, well, maybe you can get us a car after you pay the school debt. I said, with what job? Right. Because you just told me.
That's
so
circle.
You were doing that?
Circle. Yeah. So I was actually pretty good at it, and I moved up pretty quickly. I became an assistant, branch manager. I worked at the airport for a while. So I honed a lot of skills that they give you towards actually entrepreneurship, because you actually are doing, operations and managing staff and, profit reports. So a lot of that is still stuff I use.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I didn't get a chance to know that.
Well, you know.
Because they didn't hire me. But that's fine. Glad they hired my friends. Totally okay. Totally okay. So you're working there.
Right.
Did you, and I mean this, I don't know how this will land on you. Did you somewhat not have time for service at that point? Because from what I know of that job, they work you.
They do.
And so does that job take up a lot of your time and you're not really doing service? Because what I've learned that when things come to you naturally, right? When you're always, you don't really think about doing it because it naturally happens. But if you're caught up and you're busy, it can detach you from that.
Absolutely. And I would say, absolutely, I wasn't doing nearly as much as I probably would have had I not been working there. And I felt the void. And when the opportunity, the family emergency, basically, where I moved back to Dallas, and it's like, I'm not going back.
So you moved back home?
I moved back to Dallas for a brief stint.
That is tough.
And I was there for 18 months, but during that time, I started working for another nonprofit, for my first nonprofit. And that's when I knew that I wanted to do, community. It didn't like those, got those juices flowing again. Yeah. Okay. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I would never go back to corporate.
But you were in Texas.
I was in Texas. So I had to leave.
Now.
I love y'all. But, I had the vision for Starting With Today then. You haven't talked about Starting With Today, the nonprofit? Okay, so I had the vision for Starting With Today then. And
let's go touch that. But
I don't think I had a name for it at that time, but I knew what I wanted to do, and I would tell people that, and I was excited. You know how you get an idea, you're excited about it, and you be like, "Hey, Jay, I wanna help people," and and they were like, "How you gonna do that? You're not Oprah.
This is Texas.
You don't have no master's degree.
Okay.
You don't have this and that.
Okay.
And so it was really discouraging, and so I came to Howard for homecoming. Came back to DC for homecoming, catching up with friends, and I told one of my friends this, and she was like, "Oh, this is a good idea. You should do this. You should get started today, because it's gonna take a while for you to begin to build it up, and get in the black." And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "This is what you need to do. This is the website you need to go to. This is the things you need to."
And this is at a homecoming,
right?
Okay. And she like giving it to you right there.
Exactly. Okay. No, I can't do it. No discouragement whatsoever. And so I was like, okay. She's like, "You gotta get started today," and that essentially brought us to.
But when you were home, you were hearing everything on why you can't do it,
right?
And the only reason I'm putting emphasis on that because you and I had these conversations before about those of us who come, especially to a college where we come far, right, and we come from places that are pretty blue collar, that are pretty much like routine, if I'm saying that right. First generation. And so when you're like that first generation and you're, and they mean well.
Right.
You and I talked about. So what I've learned is that they're saying a lot of the can'ts come from their love for you and they fear, they don't want you to get your hopes up or things of that.
Or they haven't seen it yet.
They haven't seen it. But there's that part of you that says, I gotta leave this environment. Like, I can't get this started here. I mean, shout out to people who can get it where they are.
Applaud them, because I do see people who thrive in Dallas, and I admire them. But I needed definitely further ground and a lot of the beginnings.
Do you think you work better without a net? Do you think that might have something to do with it?
Swimmer sink. Yeah, maybe. Because
DC can be a tough town, especially post college.
True. I guess that's the irony of it, right? Okay. So DC is very tough, but at the same time, it brings something out of you. You know, there's like this idea like cactus. They grow, they kind of find the water. And I think
say cactus. That's a Texas reference because I never grew up with cactus, so I'm like, that's a what? I'm sorry, jiggle. Okay, so cactus find water.
Right. Well, I found my people here, my tribe.
So you moved back to DC?
Moved back to DC.
With a plan, though?
Shit, no, I didn't have no plan.
But I thought you said you came homecoming and your homegirl told you all of that.
Right, but that doesn't mean that it just happens magically.
No, okay, so...
no, I had no plan. I just knew I couldn't stay in Dallas.
Oh, okay. So when she hit you, and she hit you with the title of starting with today?
Well, she didn't know it was the title until later on.
But she said you need to start today.
Correct.
What made that stick with you?
Because I feel like every stepping stone, it has to have a starting point. And I feel like everything that we've been through in our lives can, you know, we can choose to let it make us bitter, or you can use it as a ladder. And I choose to use mine as a ladder. And how we can use these skills, you know, even when we're not where we want to be, that we've learned something along the way and translate that into something meaningful.
Okay. So you don't come back to DC necessarily like, I'm about to start nonprofit
Right.
starting with today.
Nah.
But you knew you had to leave Dallas.
I did.
So you come back.
Mm-hmm. With nothing.
Again.
Whatever fit in my little car at that time. I packed up. I flew one of my good friends out to Dallas, and we drove back in the middle of Snowmageddon. So... Yep. So it was a long 2-day journey trying to get, because we even had ice as far south as Arkansas. So a lot of the roads wasn't treated. It was a lot, but we made it back safely.
You literally was heading towards a storm.
Yeah.
Like, not metaphorically, but
right.
literally, like
so
in life.
DC had the first round. Shout out to Jamila. And, you know, that ride, and we get here, and it's literally snowing for like the next few weeks, you know, nonstop. So job searches are hard because people aren't even in the offices, you know.
I remember I was on the radio, and me and my sis DJ Heat were the only people at the radio station during Snowmageddon, and it was difficult. Yeah, but the first snow like that in 100 years in the city. Yeah, and they wasn't equipped for it
at all. At all, the city was shut down, except for, you know, restaurants. They still made it happen, but definitely that community here supported me, so I got back on my feet.
Okay, so after Snowmageddon,
right,
and low key, like once the snow kind of stopped, we were all kind of low key having fun doing Snowmageddon. Like,
absolutely.
I just want to point that out, but absolutely. And there's probably some 9-year-olds walking around now doing something, you know, but that's neither here nor there. Because like you said, stores were closed, so people wasn't buying prophylactics, so, you know, it is what it is. But, so you're here, you know that you have a purpose. Right. Okay, and you still don't necessarily say, or correct me if I'm wrong, I'm about to start a nonprofit. No. But you knew you had to be here. Yeah, I was definitely still in survival mode. So what I actually ended up doing around that time, I had a little blog, and I believe I started it. You had a blog back then? I had a little blog. You was one of them? I was one of them. Okay. What was the name of your blog? What was the name of your blog? I don't want people to pull in and be like, oh, this is bad. Oh, you was one of them? Well, let me ask you, what was it about? It was about, you know, my life and relationships and, you know, lessons learned. Yeah, I mean, you can check it out. It's the Mocha Cafe. Please don't hold me to anything I said in my mid-20s. We have to let people grow. We have to let people grow. Let me grow. Okay, this was a while ago. Okay, she just told you her whole story. Growth, people, growth. Yeah, okay? Yeah. So, but it got me in the habit of writing again. I enjoyed that, and I think even in that, you know, I wanted to help people. So I think towards that goal, I was like, I want to maybe do a magazine or something like self-help, inspiration type, Black magazine, and, you know, all leading up to the nonprofit. So were you working and you said, I'm going to quit and start my own nonprofit? Like, no, still working. But at the time, what would you say? What was okay? So did you actually get a chance to piece something together or a project, and you did that was totally under your name? Did you do anything that said, okay, this is me? Like, what was it? And definitely. And so when I finally got the job in DC,
and was working in local government, and I did a lot of community.
You got a government job?
I did.
Local
government.
Wait. I applied because I understand what year we were talking about. I applied for local. How come you got every job I couldn't get? And me and you was going through the same stuff.
I don't know.
Because I applied for a local government job.
Did you?
Yes. They did not hire me, man. I don't know about this, man.
And actually, it was a person that I had worked with who put me on at the rental car place because we had worked. He saw my work ethic.
Okay.
So he introduced me to one of the hiring managers. I did some testing out, and the lady there was like, "Yeah, come on."
I couldn't pass those tests. Those like long government assessment tests.
It wasn't an assessment test. Hers was very like, do the job. Like, show me your results.
Mine was,
yeah, show me the work. And learned a lot there. Was able to do a lot of community events. Meet a lot of local elected officials, a lot of local staff, and seeing how things were done. And I was like, okay, I definitely can do this. And so I did.
What was the first project? Or did you do a project?
The first starting with today activity was 2 workshops. The first one was resumes, and that's kind of where it started. And
did you call it starting with today at that moment, or you just did it?
No, it was starting with today at that moment. It was starting it started with a tweet. I was hiring for the local government job. I was hiring a receptionist, and I wanted to hire someone within that community. And all the resumes were just abysmal. It was like, what is this? So I was like, I put out a tweet. It's like, hey, if you need help with your resumes, let me know. And then it was like 10 responses. And then it was like 20. And then it was like 50. So I helped everybody with their resume. I helped everybody.
Random people with their resumes.
Random people with their resumes.
Lord, this is back when we didn't know what Twitter really was.
We really didn't. We had no clue what the potential was. So this had to be like 2010, 2011. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to start a nonprofit for help people with their resumes. And then eventually I'm going to add this. And eventually I'm going to add that. And I talked to one of my, another Howard alum, and Anthony, shout out to Anthony. He was like, nah, start from the end. You know what I'm saying? Like, make it as big and as powerful as you want it to be, and you'll draw the right people as you move it along. And so that's what I did. And, now, 4 years later, we have this this beautiful organization. But we started with 2 workshops on resume building and, creating a budget. And they were...
How did that workshop go?
It was, people enjoyed it, but, just looking back in hindsight, it was, you had to get started. You had to start somewhere. So
where did you have it at?
I had it at the Glen Arden Public Library.
I remember.
But shout out to them because they took a chance on me. I had no resume, had no portfolio at that time, and just like, hey, this is what I want to do. Can y'all, partner with us? And she did. In the area manager at that time let me come to all the libraries in her area and let us do these 2 workshops. And we asked for feedback, and basically from people who attended feedback is how we begin to really get better. And
I remember you coming back from that,
right?
And I remember the look on your face,
right.
And how you felt.
Right.
I remember you talking about it, and you were like, we were talking to people, and we were telling them their resume don't have to be black and white.
Right, exactly.
And I remember as you were saying it, I was like, it doesn't, like, because I didn't know. I'm somebody who, like a regular person, I do things until someone is like, you don't have to do that.
And we was doing that, 2014.
Yeah.
And now you hardly see just black and white.
No, you don't. That's real. Right? I wouldn't even think about doing that no more.
Right.
But
exactly.
Back then, when you said it, it was kind of like, I was like, really?
Right. People, really took to it. And, basically we've grown based off recommendations and referrals, like word of mouth. And, I'm excited where we are, but I can already see the vision where we're going. So I'm just, even more excited.
So you starting with today.
Mm-hmm.
You do a couple projects.
Right.
and I hate, I have to because I'm your friend. I have to point this out. I remember going to the launch event.
Right.
You actually doing Starting to the Day and talking about it. And
right.
we went to support. I wore a tie for you.
And it was cold. It was cold. January, very cold.
I wore a tie for you.
Thank you.
I need to point that out. And I remember, the joy you felt and all of that.
Yeah.
So you have Starting with Today, right? And you're doing your projects. Not to skip a step, because you've been doing small work and you've been, counseling and doing all these things with Starting with Today. You've been working with youth. You've been working with young ladies.
Right.
You even
that's personal, though.
Yeah, and that's something you just been doing on the side. That has nothing to do with Starting with Today.
Right.
But be that as it may, Starting with Today has been doing small things, small projects. But let's kind of skip to this nice big project that has kind of been a little bit different.
Right.
And it got mainstream attention from other mainstream artists doing it. And I don't want to say you were like the first person to do it, because people there's been an attempt to have shows inside the male barbershop.
Correct.
I remember Al Sharpton had a show like that years ago. And for some reason, when I watch it, I don't really I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay. Right? Because they kind of have a setting where there's a lot of celebrities sitting separately from the barbershop while people cutting hair.
Right.
They're talking about how they feel. They put a celebrity in there. They put a random person. It's like, okay, well, we're in the barbershop.
Right.
Now, I'm not speaking as being biased. I'm speaking as someone who actually witnesses. You actually involve the people in the shop to have these conversations.
Yeah.
So if you could, please, let's talk about the origin of the Shape Up.
The Shape Up. The Shape Up is an idea I had in late 2017, and it just came to me in a dream, just a vision, and it happens a lot. And I was like, all right, I had just moved, and I was like, it's no way I can tackle this right now. Let me get my bearings straight and figure things out right now.
Became a homeowner. Point that out.
Became a homeowner, and I was overwhelmed. You know what I'm saying? I was, it sounds sweet, but I was overwhelmed. So I said, okay, January, I'm going to pick this project up. It was on my goals list. And so I reached out to Twitter, and I was like, Twitter, can you, refer me to any black male psychologists in the DMV?
Twitter has been a hell of a resource for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You are a prime example of when you use social media in a positive manner. I just want to say that. But go ahead.
And so, I'm not a huge, following. So I reached out to a friend who does have a huge following. It's like, hey, can you retweet this? And people start responding. And he actually went to an event, shout out to the Cosby, and he met two male psychologists, and he was like, introduced me, sent an email that night. It's like, hey, Charlyn has this idea about this barbershop talk series, and y'all should connect. So one of them had a lot of questions and, back and forth. And then one was like, nah, this is good. Let's meet. Let's work through it. So, I met with Tariq, and we just vibed instantly. Just similar vision. He got it, his work, his body of work, not just as a licensed therapist, but as a talk show host, as an author of a book. So he already had this, how to facilitate, how to engage people, vibe. And I think what I saw in him resonates too with the people at the barbershop.
You saw somebody who was able to make that connection.
Right.
And so do you and him go and have conversation with different barbershops, or you go by yourself?
No, I go by myself.
Did you tweet an ad again?
No. Then I was like, okay, cool. Because the hardest part, I can't go to a barbershop without a black psychologist, because, black male psychologists, it's less than 2% of all therapists.
Really?
Yeah. So it's not that many black people in therapy.
And then there's less of men.
Exactly. So I had to find that unicorn first. And then I was like, okay, let me find a barbershop. And, I did a couple audits. I visited, and sometimes I just kind of watched how people were flowing inside and out. I did a Google search, and I looked at different barbershops, their ratings. how many people were engaged.
You looked at barbershop ratings?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, it's so crazy because when I think about barbershop as a man, and
right.
even once upon a time when I had hair, but I get my beard done now, so it's all good. But I don't think about checking ratings. You talk word of mouth. I mean, I've been going to the same shop since I was an intern.
So I figure if a barbershop has ratings, right?
It must be.
It must be good. It must be good. So I went to the first one. And, you know, so many questions back and forth and emails back and forth. And I was like, you know, just give us a shot. But we didn't have anything to prove it would work. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have, like, look at this footage. We had nothing. And so it didn't work out with them. So, okay, let me go to the next one. And instantly, like, I knew it was it. I met with the son of the owner first. And he was like, instantly got it. And he was just warm. You know what I'm saying? Just a good person, you know. Like,
being a good person means something,
right? I mean, you know, you can feel people's energy. You can feel like I felt safe in this barbershop when I walked in. I wasn't treated, you know, differently because I was a woman.
I didn't want to cut you off, but I know you said it came to you in a dream,
right?
But there is something sacred about going into a male barbershop. Absolutely. Just like it's sacred about going to a women's beauty salon. Absolutely. Right? So when you say like it literally came to you in a dream, but you are somebody who is aware of this.
Right.
And so how did you feel knowing you're about to step, as a woman, as a black woman, you're about to step into this sacred quote unquote domain?
Nervous.
Okay.
Definitely was nervous the first time. And you know, I didn't have it all together. Like I didn't have, you know, full drawn out plan. Actually, I did have a proposal at this time. And I thought, okay, they're going to read my proposal. And they was like...
You thought the hood was going to read your proposal, yo? You had so much hope. You had so much hope, yo. Because the barbershop that you went to is in Southeast DC.
Southeast DC.
And we know from us living here that
DC... And not, you know, east of the Anacostia, Southeast DC. Yeah. Not... new Southeast
and
DC.
Listen, and to those who don't know, DC has been battling gentrification, and DC has changed since you and I first came here as students, and now we're living as adults.
Right.
What's the importance of an area like Southeast DC to you? Like, because you could have went to a DC barbershop, correct, and nobody would quote unquote know, but you decided to go to DC.
Absolutely.
Because from what I lived here, people have always told me, the natives have always said, yo, there's Washington, and then there's DC. That's so you went to DC.
That's real. Yeah, because, you know, it needed to be real. It needed to be where people who need it the most can benefit from it. You know, access to resources, whether it's, you know, mental health or, you know, even the resume writing or budget, financial understanding, credit, like any of our workshops, access is a huge issue. So our motto is really going to where people already are, serving people where they already are, and doing it in a real way. And, you know, if we want to service black men, then the barbershop is the place to go. Me being a woman, a black woman, walking to a barbershop, you know, it was nervous and intimidating at first, but they really made me feel so warm and welcome. I knew that it would work here. And the owner, shout out to Dr. Lee for being amazing and understanding the vision. And
Dr. Lee is the owner of the barbershop.
Right.
The barbershop called what again?
Lee's Barbershop.
Lee's Barbershop. Lee's Barbershop.
Right.
And I like the fact that he's Dr. Lee. That's what we do. I'm Dr. Lee.
Right.
And you going to call me that.
Respect it.
Yeah.
Because he's surgical. And, you know, his barbershop has been around for 32 years. 32 years, you know what I'm saying?
In that area.
In that area, that looks authentic DC, you know, for people who never visited. And it
and when we say authentic DC, we're not necessarily saying you went somewhere where there was like a war zone. We're not necessarily encouraging that. Not. We're just saying like a real part of the city. It's like people who go to New Orleans and they only go for Mardi Gras or Essence Fest. There's a real New Orleans.
Exactly.
And DC has a real DC that we're encouraging, and a real culture that we're just saying that you need to check out, and that's what you decided to go to.
Exactly.
Do you think it had any connection to coming up as a little young lady with your grandmother's beauty salon? I mean, do you think, I'm not someone who necessarily advocates for that, but you think your grandma might have whispered that in your ear or something?
Maybe.
Because you came up in in another sacred area.
Very true.
Of your grandmother owning a beauty salon and seeing all these services. I mean,
true.
Is that a connection?
Absolutely. I absolutely don't discount that, and could very well be the case. And I feel the presence of people supporting me alive and dead is all the time. So definitely planting a seed, and I just knew it would work if somebody just gave us a chance.
And so you go in there. Mm-hmm. Dr. Lee is like, cool. You got your therapist. Yeah. Less than 2% of black men are therapists,
right?
Registered therapists, and you found the one out of 2%. And so you go into an establishment that's been around for 30 years.
Right.
So it is a definite symbol in that environment, in that neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Right? What is your purpose?
At that point, we're just trying it out. I said, let's do a pilot. Let's do 1 or 2 sessions, 3 max, see how it goes, My original idea was to come like on an off day, like on a slow day. And Dr. Lee was like, nah, let's come in on our busiest day, come in at our busiest time.
Oh, so he encouraged it.
Absolutely. And I think that was a driving force, having Dr. Lee and his barbers, they really helped get it going.
Now, I've been... Right.
And
the reason why I say that is different, not because you're my friend, because it really is a setup of interaction of customers.
Right.
It really is a setup of interaction of the actual barbers.
Right.
Dr. Lee is definitely involved.
Right.
I knew who he was from the start.
Right.
And meanwhile, while we're in there doing what we do, people are coming there selling you stuff still.
It's still
it doesn't stop. People are coming in selling you scents, oils, gym shoes. It still popping in there.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And the one thing I like about what's the gentleman's name? Tariq, right?
Tariq, yeah.
Tariq. One thing I like about him is that he understands the culture, so he keeps going. Like, he doesn't pause when the oil man is coming in.
He is a master facilitator.
He still goes.
He is really awesome at what he does. He's a master facilitator. And he doesn't get sidetracked by the distractions, which is really important. And he knows how to draw out conversation from other black men. And I think it's been awesome to witness people having breakthroughs. I'm not sure if they even realize the term breakthrough.
No, it was definitely a breakthrough when the gentleman was talking about he'd been with his wife for 30 years, and we were having a conversation about relationships, and then he said the moment he saw his wife, he knew what was up. Now, in context, earlier, a younger guy was talking about how his dating situation has not been going right. And he said he got 2 kids, and he talked about how he has been taking women out, and he take them out to the best of restaurants, right? And I saw myself being a separate generation for him because I come from the era of doing less to get more.
Right.
So when he was talking about, he started off at 5-star restaurants, I'm looking at him like, yo, what are you doing? Like, but I had to understand that's the generation that he come from, where he going, and he was making a real genuine point, right? That if I'm going all out, and then all you gonna do is weigh your option and wait on someone else to do better, then what's the point of me trying? And then the breakthrough that I saw, and I can be wrong, I can be right, whatever, but the breakthrough that I saw is when the man was talking about being with his wife for 30 years. The young boy looked at him and said, so you mean to tell me you get the same satisfaction, same love and attention from the same woman for 30 years? And that gentleman looked at him and said, of course not.
Straight face.
Straight face, no hesitation, and said, no, but we have to work. And we have to be willing to work. It was a breakthrough for me. And I was older than the young dude, but I was looking at him like, damn.
But the way the man was talking about him before, you think there was been all sweet and roses. I think, and that is, the generation gap from us, and then definitely younger than us, where it's not. And how do we begin to work through that?
Yeah. And you do a good job of standing back and letting things go. Because a lot of people come into environments like that and they become preachy. They want to come and start telling people what they should do. You don't do that. But I think you make a point to do that. Am I wrong?
No, that's correct. I am an observer. I'm a guest in this space, and not necessarily the barbershop, because the barbershop is inclusive, and there are women there who are dropping.
There are definitely women there, yeah.
Right, and there are there's a woman barber there as well, And but this conversation is not about black women, you know, and it's not about my gripes with black men. You know, it is a love letter to black men, and a love letter.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, black men have supported and loved on me my whole life. But all of those men that have loved me have also been broken in some way or form. And I feel like where women will talk among themselves, and, you know, we do a lot of therapeutic conversations, and, you know, hair and nail, all these things we do to kind of regroup. I don't think black men have the same access to that. And, you know, if we're going to do it and bring in tools, you know, we have to honor the stories and the viewpoints of black men. So the young man saying where he stopped, you know, basically courting women, like that, his perspective that he shared with us, it was, you know, so I'm not talking about my personal gripes with, I'm giving men space to say that whatever they're feeling, whatever they're going through is valid.
Yeah, because I did realize as a man that for my generation, I'm a 90s kid.
Right.
I came from the era of Too Short. And that might not have been the best.
I didn't know that's where we was going.
That's how I feel. You know, I came from Too Short and Snoop Dogg, and they was telling me don't love nobody.
Right.
You know?
Right. Not quite those words.
And what I noticed, right, not quite those words. And what I noticed with the younger generation is that they're a lot more loving. They're a lot more talking about their girl.
Especially their artists are definitely more intuitive.
And so it's a reflection of that. Yeah. And I have to be able to look at that and not necessarily dismiss it as, oh, well, you just softer.
Right.
You know? Because my upbringing in the culture was flawed. It was wrong. Now, they were pretty much also trying to say, too, don't do this so you won't get hurt. Right. Don't get caught up.
Exactly.
But we didn't have to take it to the max as I did. And I realized that some of them traits still exist in me. And I realized that at the Shape Up.
Right.
In that moment, my whole life, I'm at the Shape Up and I'm like, yo. I mean, maybe not 4-star, but maybe 1.5 stars I should go, you know?
Right. And even for myself, I've learned so much about the way that, you know, I interact with other people, other women, other black men, of course, and definitely in my personal relationships where there were gaps, you know.
I was going to ask you, what's something in doing the Shape Up series that you walked in that you absolutely had no idea that you're walking out of?
I would say the Shape Up that we did on emotional literacy, and the way Tariq broke it down, you know, saying how vulnerable you have to be willing to say that I'm hurt, you know. So usually it's anger or deflection or, you know, having these defense mechanisms where you say I'm indifferent to things. Anything to say other than you hurt my feelings. Like how much that requires of myself.
I think I just told somebody they hurt my feelings years ago. Right. Like about a week ago. Like, I didn't realize that though. I'm realizing that at this moment.
Right, and growing up, you know, in my hood, like you can't be weak, male or female. You know,
male or female.
You dad is a sign. You become prey.
Yeah, I don't think my mother ever said I'm sorry.
Right.
You know, being
anything but
being a strong woman that she was. I think my mother has a hard time saying
absolutely.
I'm sorry.
I would get a gift before I get a sorry.
At least you got a gift. Shout out to you. At least you got a gift.
You know, saying I'm wrong, apologizing. All those things require, you know, humility that our environment, the hood environment, doesn't necessarily give room for. That's a luxury that we don't necessarily give room for.
And so what would you say you wanted your love letter to the black male to say?
I mean, off top, I can say you matter. And maybe the next one is we need you. We need you. We need you well. We need you at your best.
And these are tools. So you don't necessarily get the vibe, at least I don't, objectively, when I'm in the Shape Up. Right. I don't necessarily think that I should go there and solve my problems, but I definitely go in there with a spark.
Right.
And I definitely think that mental health is important. Right. And hopefully I hope people walk out of there with the sense of, yo, I'm acknowledging what's been bothering me, and I need to go find it. Now, here's something I got to hit you with. You go into the Shape Up, you having that feeling.
Right.
but the shit ain't cheap.
It's not therapy.
Like, just being 100 with you. Like, let's say you do go into the shape up and you're like, you know what? I need some therapy. But you go online and you're like, this is expensive. Does starting with today find avenues or way for people to make that inexpensive for them?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing we really advocate for is checking with your employer to see if you have EAP. And EAP stands for Employee Assistance Programs. And it's pretty universal for larger companies. It's aside from your medical insurance. But they typically can give you 6 to 8 sessions for free. So you just go to your human resources and say, hey, you know, what are our EAP benefits? And then, you know, we're definitely trying to do more where we can facilitate more workshops, more group sessions, and referrals to one-on-one services to lessen that gap and make it more affordable and more accessible.
That's good. So far, how many shape-ups has it been?
It's been 5 shape-ups so far. Like I said, we was going to do 1 or 2 as a pilot, 3 max, and it kept saying come back. So we're back, but we're heading to the season finale.
Okay.
This week, this Saturday.
Sounds like a great idea. Whoever
whoever came up with
that idea, that season finale sounds like a great person.
It is. I can't think of his name right now, but but we're super excited about it, and it's gonna continue on relationships. And you know, we just basically did a ask at the last one, like, what do y'all want to talk about? And Dr. Lee said, you know, let's talk about managing relationships. You know, we know how to get into these relationships, but how do we manage them?
You know, I was just telling somebody that I got a lot of advice on how to have a roster of women.
Right.
A lot. Tons of advice.
Right.
But as I got older and I wanted to make that transition to have, you know, one.
Right.
The advice became more limited.
Exactly.
And it became more, especially as a black man, it became more of like, all right, have all your fun and then get married.
Right.
But there was never an understanding on wisdom or practice on how to deal with like one woman. It was very limited.
Right.
And so is that something that the season finale is going to tackle as far as when you think about the idea of managing relationships?
Absolutely. And the fulfillment of that, and where fun shouldn't stop once you get in a relationship or marriage, you right? So
that's real.
And I think, you know, me and you have these conversations a lot about, you know, being able to bring who you are into your relationships, right? And so, yeah, we're looking forward to doing that. And then just taking a little break to kind of reassess and see what we need to do to expand and move forward and, you know, bring it to more barbershops, do more services, and, you know, keep growing.
So when the season finale ends, what's going to be the plan afterwards? Are we still, as far as starting to today goes, are we still talking about the shape up?
Right.
Are we still talking about other things? Like, what's next, or what's something we can look forward to in that mix?
Absolutely. I mean, look forward to more shape ups in 2019, starting strong, more areas east of the Anacostia in DC and Prince George's County. So we got some stuff lined up already for then. We'll be doing some pop-up events, some more community events. So you'll see us at some of your favorite places around the city, and some of your favorite festivals. Do
you guys have any kind of like call and response? Like, for example, if I go to Starting With Today now, is there something like an inbox I can ask or require of a service that you guys just provide like on a daily?
On a daily, resume building, we always do that.
Which is needed.
Needed. And it's not necessarily daily, but we respond to all.
That's something that's a service you guys always have available.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And then people who are needing issues, understanding their credit, we'll do that as well.
Oh, whoa. You do credit help?
We teach people how to understand how credit works and how to improve their credit.
I have no understanding.
Right.
I just know what's bad and what's good, but I don't have an understanding.
Because we don't really learn until we actually like.
When you say we, you mean
black people.
Okay. Let's be.
You know, but until things have gone so far bad, you know. But even with that, there's tools that we can move the needle towards, you know, that 800 credit score. So. Yeah, we do that. And that's one of my favorite workshops, to be honest, because there's so many tangible things that you can walk away with that one. And It's not being taught. It's not being taught in our schools. It's not being taught in college. You can go get your PhD. You can never learn about credit,
No.
And so that's intentional. And I feel more intentional when we talk about predatory lending in the Black community. And I feel like knowledge is power. So we try to have knowledge, but, fun, interactive ways to communicate.
So your goal for starting with it today, as far as being established to offer those services, is it to be an outlook, or something to be constantly like a resource?
Right, absolutely.
To people who have limited or no resources at all.
Exactly. I feel like, a lot of times we feel like, maybe I get to a certain point I won't need it, but I feel like we always need, some tools to get to the next place. So as we'll continue to grow and continue to provide more tools.
Yeah, because some of us, we really just continue. I constantly keep finding things I just didn't know.
Right.
And you and I had these conversations about Googling it, and you talk to other cultures and other races, and they've been doing this since they were like 9.
Exactly.
And here I am, grown adult man paying taxes, and I'm sitting here and got to figure it out.
Exactly. And even that, a lot of times we kind of get to this point where we're like, oh, just Google it. But you have to have some context to Google.
That's true, because otherwise you're just getting random stuff from random people. Yeah.
Exactly. So you need to have some context around it, that supports your searching, and targets your searching, because otherwise you get lost and you get overwhelmed and you're not doing anything. You go back to inaction. So definitely providing context, terminology, and language, and communicating in a real way where people feel valued. And I think that's another one of our values, in making sure it's not us versus them, it's we.
That's true.
It's we.
We
in this boat together.
That's true. So, I can rock with that.
Yeah.
I'm with the we. So how would you suggest that people get in contact with Starting With Today?
Any way you want to,
With consent.
With consent. There's definitely startingwithtoday.org. We're on Instagram probably the most at Starting With Today.
You answer DMs.
I answer DMs.
Okay.
We get DMs, we answer it. And Facebook, Starting With Today. We're on Twitter at Starting W Today, because Twitter is a hater, and then let us have the extra.
I understand. I have to chop up some of the things I'm going to.
Right.
It's such a nasty world out there. People just steal stuff, but they don't even be using it.
Exactly. But, just go to startingwithtoday.org, and all our social media outlets are on the homepage, so you can find us and, shoot us a message. Follow us, come to our events.
And when is the season finale of the Shape Up?
It is Saturday, August the 25th at 11 a.m. We start promptly. It's Black, but this one starts on time.
No, it does. It does. Because I showed up to one with our mutual friend who got me there late, and y'all were done in 5 minutes, and I was like, God dang it. You guys start promptly on time.
Start promptly.
And people are there on time.
Right.
People respect it.
Right. And we end at 12 noon sharp. So therapists, one thing you'll know, once you get into them, they charge by the hour. So we are in and out.
That's good. So although starting the Shape Up is going to be in Southeast DC, and that's for people who are in the area, and that's Dr. Lee's Barbershop.
Correct.
Right? And the address will be on your guys' site and
exactly.
stuff like that, right? But you do the services that you just mentioned about resume building, all that applies to everybody.
Exactly.
Right. So anybody can go to the website, get information in that,
Absolutely.
get help and assistance from there. Right?
Absolutely.
All right. This was fun.
This was very fun.
No, this was very fun. And it's so crazy because walking through your journey, like, my pride for you has grown even in this journey.
Man, respect. Both. I think one of the benefits of our friendship is that we see the work that we put in behind our love for our work,
Yeah.
and the hustle that goes behind it. So, mad respect.
I'm totally like for it, and I totally understand it, and I experienced the Shape Up.
Right.
And so I know.
Thank you for coming out and supporting. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to the season finale.
Yeah.
I'm going to the season finale, and when it comes to other stuff, I definitely get my cheat code and I hit you.
Right.
But
VIP access, VIP.
Yeah. But that's okay though. I can do that. That's what we do. But
right.
I do appreciate the things that you've been doing, because I do think it's needed. Objectively, I do think this is needed. And if there's any other way that I can help, I'm all for it. But I do want to encourage people to go to all your social media platforms, and if they technically don't need service, to offer help too, correct? On how
absolutely.
that, right?
Okay. Absolutely. We're always looking for volunteers, for people to get involved, to expand our services and our network to people. And you know, we believe everybody has something to contribute. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, I appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
And good luck with the season finale.
Hey.
I'll be there. And,
hey.
And best of worlds with everything else. And make sure you come back to give us an update on starting with today.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure it's about to blow. It's on its way out of here. It's on its way out of here. Shout out to you.
Thank you.